What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings and the NFC North, and specifically Dalvin Cook in today's video. Let's get it started. Welcome in, everybody, to another video. I'm glad you guys are here, and today we are going to be talking about some of the NFC North opponents for the Detroit Lions, but mainly the Minnesota Vikings. And the reason why we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings so much today is because of news we got yesterday about Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook reportedly yesterday came out, his agent, and said that he would be holding out from the Minnesota Vikings and he would not be back unless he got a reasonable extension from the Minnesota Vikings. Wow. Okay, we've seen holdouts before. When you're 24 years old and you're coming off that rookie deal, you want to get paid. He's only got $1.3 million left on his contract. He wants to get that money. And he went and saw a guy like David Johnson get traded, get $13 million a year, and that's about what the money that they believe that he wants. But he said reasonable, so he kept it vague, kept it simple, so that you really don't know what he's looking for. He can kind of just decline and accept whenever he wants to. But this is a very interesting situation because as the NFC North goes this offseason, it's kind of has a lot of problems. I feel like there's a lot of teams with issues and a lot of things to figure out this season. When you look at the Chicago Bears, they don't even know who their starting quarterback is. I mean, they weren't great last season, but they still don't know who their quarterback is going next year. I believe it to be Nick Foles, but I don't think either of those quarterbacks are great. When you look at the Green Bay Packers, obviously that was a whole bunch of controversy when they drafted Jordan Love. I still see stuff like, oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers isn't a great leader or whatnot. People talking about that, you know, on the mainstream platforms. I don't know. I don't really watch those videos because I don't really, I don't really watch those kind of videos, but I'm reacting to them. But I do see titles like that, and they're still talking about whether he is a good leader or not, whether he'll mentor Jordan Love, what that relationship will work like. We've read articles that said that, Aaron Rodgers may not be in Green Bay much longer, and now all of a sudden this comes out for Minnesota. And I'm going to say right now that the NFC North could be open. This could be an opportunity for the Detroit Lions to take advantage of the NFC North. We've had a couple of these opportunities in the past, a couple of years where quarterbacks have been injured, players have been out, but the Lions have not been able to take advantage, and that's why they haven't won a division title since the 90s. That's why they haven't been able to get over that hump, because they haven't been able to take advantage when teams have been down. Well, now in year 3 for Matt Patricia, that may be their opportunity. So as I heard about this Dalvin Cook news, I really wanted to jump into a video here because I had some people on Instagram saying, hey, is this legit? Like, what is this all about? And it's a really interesting situation, but it's something that we've seen multiple times. Running backs do this all the time. We saw it with Zeke Elliott, where they actually did end up paying him. We've seen it with Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, where he held out, but then Austin Eckler stepped in and he was good. We see this all the time. Sometimes it works out for the team, sometimes it works out for the running back. It's a really interesting situation. Dalvin Cook is arguably the best running back in the NFC North when healthy, but that's been one of his problems. He hasn't been consistently healthy. Now, he hasn't been injured like a guy like Kerryon Johnson, missing half the season last year. He only missed 2 games, but he's not consistently healthy for an entire season. However, he's still a really good running back, and he's a big part of that offense for the Minnesota Vikings. When I went back and looked at the numbers for Minnesota, who finished 10-6 last year, I want to see how much of an impact he really did have on the team, and let me just say, it's a lot. When I watch the Minnesota Vikings play, I see a lot of things are set up by play action, which makes sense. If you can run the football, you can set up play action, and usually that beats teams, especially teams like the Lions who play man-to-man. That's what they did a lot versus the Detroit Lions. But if a guy like Dalvin Cook is not there, where will the running back help come from, and where will the running game come from? Because that is a huge part of the Minnesota Vikings offense. Just look at these numbers. Just listen to these numbers really quickly. Last season, they were 6th in the league in rushing. They were 4th in the league in rushing attempts, and they were 6th in the league in rushing touchdowns. That's really, really good. But passing, they were 30th in attempts. And they weren't that bad passing. But obviously, we saw Kirk Cousins less than 4,000 yards passing, and that was kind of interesting when I looked at that. I was like, yeah, he was efficient, but it was really all set up by that running game. 30th in attempts. Only two more teams threw the ball less than the Minnesota Vikings did that last season, and they were 23rd in yards passing. So they were pretty low in those categories, so a lot of their offense does come from the running game. Now, who's going to make the running game work again, right? If Dalvin Cook is not there, if he does hold out. I read this from a source. I think this is one of the sources from Dalvin Cook. I'm not exactly sure, but this is what the source said. He's out, will not show up for camp and beyond. He will not show up for camp and beyond until he gets that reasonable contract extension. So this is a very interesting situation. So now, who are the Minnesota Vikings going to be relying upon if Dalvin Cook is not there? Well, they have a couple of young running backs that have shown some promise. They have Madison, who is actually pretty darn good. 100 attempts to 250 attempts for Dalvin Cook. 100 attempts for 4.6 yards per carry. They had Boone, who had 45 attempts for 5.6 yards per carry. And they have Amir Abdullah, who had 23 attempts last season. They still have running backs to rely upon, but you never know. Being the number 1 running back, being that main guy, the workhorse in the backfield, is pretty different from being, the second running back who has a lot of the pressure taken off of him. Now, I think they're going to mix in running backs, but it's just really interesting because if this Dalvin Cook situation does turn out where he doesn't play this season, who will benefit from it, right? Could the Minnesota Vikings really struggle from this? Will these running backs, these young running backs that we've seen a little bit from, be able to take over that role? I'm not sure. That's just another question mark. And they may be able to, and it may not have an impact. But it also could have a major impact. So I think it's important to talk about because, again, this is probably, to me, I've said it before, the most complete team aside from the Lions, because I don't want to be biased here. Aside from the Lions, they're the most complete team of the other three in my eyes. I feel like Minnesota does everything well, and that's why they're so successful. That's why they've been successful with Teddy Bridgewater. That's why they've been successful with Case Keenum. And it's why they're successful with Kirk Cousins, because they have a very good foundation built. They can run the football, they have good weapons, and now they brought in Justin Jefferson to replace Stephon Diggs. They have solid quarterbacks that can get the job done, and they have a good defense. They don't have the best corners, but they have a good defense. This year they brought in a lot of new young cornerbacks. They're probably the most complete team to me, with a couple of question marks here and there. Some people bring up the secondary. It doesn't really concern me too much if I'm a Vikings fan, because they weren't that great anyways. The rest of the defense was playing really well. Now you got young guys, and by the way, I loved the move that they went and got Cameron Dantzler. They actually had a really solid draft in my opinion. They had a lot of picks as well. But I mean, they're the most complete team to me, aside from the Detroit Lions, because again, keeping bias out of the way, maybe losing Dalvin Cook could be a very big impact. I don't think the Green Bay Packers is that good. I've said it once, I'll say it again. They don't concern me whatsoever. The Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions don't concern me. I don't care what their record was. I know they were 13-3, but if you look at their schedule and how their games went just against us, why would this team scare us whatsoever? I mean, the first game, we all know about the first game, okay? We all know about the first game. And then in the second game, we were with a backup quarterback, and we were in control of that game. They came back at the very end versus, our third-string quarterback and won that game. We were in position to win that game that they had to win for the playoffs. We didn't have to win at all. If anything, it might hurt us if we win that game because we lose a draft spot. So for me, the Green Bay Packers don't scare me at all. They lost to the Eagles and the Chargers this last season, who we beat. We beat both of those teams, and we definitely should at least beat the Packers the one time on the road. You know, it was a Monday night game on the road, and we were in position to win that game. It was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but Packers don't scare me. Then the Bears, I don't know exactly what to expect. I think they have some really good pass rushers, and you know, I don't necessarily love their running game. Their quarterback situation is kind of weird, so I don't know what to expect from them. We've seen them good a couple years ago, and then last year not so great. They're kind of like this. I really never know what to expect from the Chicago Bears. But the Minnesota Vikings, man, if they can fall apart a little bit, this can open up the NFC North, because that is the team that I would say I'm most afraid of that there's any team in the NFC North, right? If there's one team in the North that I would say, yeah, that team's pretty tough. I mean, I got to be honest, that team's tough. We can beat them, but they're tough. That's the Minnesota Vikings. But if things start to fall apart, then possibly it could open up the NFC North, and the Lions need to take advantage. They have to take advantage, at least get a playoff spot. 7 teams are getting in, but this could be the opportunity. If Matt Patricia won a divisional title, he might get a statue. I'm just going to be honest here. He might get a statue in Detroit. Yeah, that would be pretty wild, because we haven't done it in a long time. I'm not going to lie, y'all. If he win a playoff game, he'd probably get a statue. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But I think the NFC North could be opening up for the Lions. Now they need to take advantage. This is, once again, another opportunity for them. If you guys haven't seen my 2018 defense and 2019 offense, what would it mean if they came together? Definitely go check out that video, because I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. And until next time, thank you for watching, and I'm out.